Hi class, Professor Graham here. We have a couple things to go over in this video. First of all, I'd like to share with you some concepts that we'll be exploring this week. Following, I will go over revision, so make sure your essays are handy. And lastly, I'll go over the overall grades and just a couple words on the pace of the class and the expectations. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you here. And this is on the first page of Module 4, this chart. And as you can see, it's called Changing Our Mindset. And these concepts, the concept of fixed mindset versus growth mindset, this idea was put forth by a psychologist, professor at Stanford named Dr. Carol Dweck. Dweck's ideas are here for us to explore as a means of success as a student, as a writer, and perhaps in the long term outside of the class as a person, right? So this is a very popular conversation in college classrooms. The fixed mindset student will be will have it in their mind that like they'll come to class or on the first day of class and kind of with the expectation that they already know everything, and they'll receive 100% on every grade, and anything that is less than that is considered or taken as criticism, right? They might feel dumb, like they've made themselves look dumb. And so looking here at the chart, they look to prove how smart they are in every assignment, which means that they are shocked when it's not 100%. They're afraid to look dumb. They might be afraid to ask questions or reach out for help if they feel they need it. They might avoid the challenges or get defensive, right? Or give up easily. Their effort at past any kind of grade that isn't fantastic is considered, again, criticism, and it's met with like, I don't, it's not going to change anything if I try, right? They might feel threatened by the success of others and achieve less, ultimately kind of cut themselves off from learning, right? Because class learning is a process, and it would be kind of counterintuitive in a classroom to expect perfection every single time, right? And so with this idea in mind, class, I always offer revision on assignments that don't receive a good grade, right? Or the grade that you're happy with. So every essay, I encourage you, you're not forced, but you are encouraged to revise and resubmit your new draft after reading the rubric, after reading my comments. If you're still wanting a little bit more, I'm happy to help. So you guys have that offer to meet with me anytime. But in terms of the growth mindset student, you're taking risks, you're trying. If you consider something a failure, or maybe don't get a wonderful grade, you revise it, you show what you've learned. And that's what I encourage, again, in this class on any assignment, but also students, I really want you to think that way as a writer, that the draft that you submit to me, if it doesn't receive a fabulous grade, consider it an opportunity to learn what isn't being shown in this essay and reapproach it, revise it, and resubmit it, right? So kind of accept the fact that growth and learning require effort. And it's not this place that we're here on this, in this online classroom. It requires you guys to really engage with the material, not skim over assignments, pay attention to details, right? It's not often that students are offered actual student examples, right? To see how to have the visual. So please take advantage of that. If you are not doing so, it really shows in the draft, right? And I'll go over that in a second, but I just really want you guys to realize that the best attitude in the classroom is to have that growth mindset, that learner's mind that's open to revision, right? And don't see correction as criticism, because of course nobody comes to a classroom knowing 100% of what is it, it's not often, because this, especially in English 1, because English 1 is a fundamental writing class where you're learning how to write, right? And as I mentioned before, the real key to success in this class is to learn the format, learn the patterns that are expected, and then you'll be able to use this formula or these patterns to write any essay in any class. And for those of you who intend to be nurses or work in the healthcare industry or in law, as a police officer, you guys will be writing reports, right? If you intend to have a desk job, you'll be writing most of the time. You'll have reports to write. And so being able to write a basic paragraph will be expected in most jobs. But as a student going back to college, this class is really intended to teach you how to write, not just for this class, but for all your classes, right? So if you establish these patterns and really learn these formulas, you'll succeed as a student moving forward in any class. And I've had many students come to me and said, I used your formula in my science class or in my history class, and I've gotten A+ all semester long, that kind of thing. So really, class, absorb the growth mindset. It's the key to success, and you'll have the opportunity to explore it deeper this week in your homework. So I wanted to start kind of at the tippy top of this video with a reference to the growth mindset, because that will help you embrace the next topic, which is revision of your first essay. So class, you all have 24 hours to revise and resubmit this essay if you wish to do so. I encourage you to do so. I also want to kind of address if you are in the grade range of perhaps not passing on this first effort, if you have a D or a C- somewhere in there, believe me, you're not alone. And not just in this class, but every semester, English A1 students, the first essay in particular, you are still kind of learning the ropes and getting acquainted with all of these assignments. So the other thing is, I have mentioned a few times that all of these essays are here for you to look at. And let's just take a look. There are actually 3 student examples of this particular assignment. There's the summary and response here, there's a summary and response here, and there's a summary and response here. So let's take a look at, I'm going to kind of talk about revision using these essays. So you can compare it to your own, find some of the pattern issues in your own essay, some of the formatting issues. We're going to go over it all. So we're going to look at this first essay, and I'm going to start at the top. Notice this student has the correct heading, has the correct date format. So this is all important. This is the key to success are your attention to detail, right? So let's see if I can, how to maximize this. Well, I'll just keep going here. All right, so notice the title. The title references the subject of this assignment. So it is not the same title as the documentary, right? So no essay should be submitted as Sikhs in America, because that's actually the title of the documentary, right? This is a summary and response essay. So you're summarizing the documentary, right? And in the previous essay lecture, we talked about the introduction paragraph, which should have a hook that draws the reader in. And usually I recommend using a shocking statistic, a big number of some kind, a historical fact, something shocking, something interesting, something funny, whatever the tone of your essay is intended to be, the hook should establish that at first step. So I am going to say in advance, right here, right now, that hooks that begin with the word many, and then whatever word they're usually they're not doing what they're intended to do. Like, they're overly general, and you have to ask yourself, is my hook interesting? Right? So many people, eat macaroni and cheese. That's not a very catchy hook, right? So we want to be as sort of dramatic as you can in the best way or the worst way possible, whatever your tone is that you're setting here. So in this case, what the student has done, their introduction, sorry, I'm trying to open this up here so you can see the whole thing, and it's not working. Okay, here we go. All right, now I've got it figured out. So note that the title is referencing what the subject is of this essay. And their hook, I'm not going to read this to you right now. I do encourage you to go through these, each one, and consider it in comparison to your own, and let it inspire you on your own essay. So this student establishes what this essay is about using the first words out of the gate are Yuba City. So where this hook says Yuba City is known for having one of the largest populations of the Sikh community in the United States. That hook is what could be considered dramatic in that it's large. It's also establishing place and time, and well, maybe not as much time, but certainly place. It has a very large dramatic number or reference. It brings the reader in, especially a local reader, which you guys are. most of you live in Yuba City or around it, right? So I live in Sacramento. You can sort of reference any of this kind of stuff. But so here, this student establishes the tone by and place and continues. Notice the length of this paragraph is between 8 and 12 sentences long. So this assignment class is something you guys have been practicing all of last week through with your assignments of summary and response assignments, where hopefully at this point that the title, the creator, whether it's the author, the director, in this case, it's a director or directors, should be referenced. The time it was created should be referenced. You guys know these details at this point. The other thing I want to establish is that this is a summary of a document, right? So this, if you kind of pull back and go, okay, the formula that is needed to be, what you need to learn in this essay is a summary of a text or a document. In this case, it's a documentary. It could be a novel, it could be an article, it could be a short story, it could be anything. In this case, though, it is a documentary. So you want to establish who published it, who directed it, the title. You want to make sure your grammar is correct. How do I title it? And then since it is the actual subject is this documentary, each topic sentence and the thesis statement should reference the documentary directly. Okay, so in this case, we have some background. This is all background here. And then this student has included one sentence that is a statement of authority, right? So everything else is in third person. It's about the documentary. However, since there is a first person response, in the fourth paragraph, I believe, or fifth, you are encouraged to have a statement of authority in your introduction paragraph. This is not always the case. But the main point, class, is it just depends on the assignment. In this case, you're asked to respond personally to this information, right? So each paragraph in this student assignment, and look at how the thesis statement class, so we have background information. We have one single first person sentence to establish, or two sentences, right? Or even three. This is the intended I understood that the Sikh community, etc. So there's a statement of authority here. The rest is in third person. It's about the documentary or about, this is background on the Sikhs, first person, and then we hit the introduction of the PBS documentary, Sikhs in America, directed by, etc., etc. And then the student has highlighted their thesis statement. And this is part of that formula that we're talking about, that recipe, is to include the title directly. That's this main subject of this essay, is a documentary. So you want to make sure you're referencing it in the thesis statement. The thesis statement tells the reader what the entire essay is about, right? And all of your submissions, class, should have a highlighted thesis statement, right? Every single essay you submit. So this thesis statement has the title, has their argument, and necessarily care for the casualness of I found the most interesting topics to be, so I don't encourage you to do that. However, it kind of goes with the tone of this, and it didn't count against the student necessarily, because look at their pattern. So here we have what they learned, the characteristics of the Sikh religion as a topic, the importance of passing on the religion to a younger generation, and notice how it goes, it kind of builds in importance and even in sort of scope, right? And the integration into American society. So you have the religion itself, which is the core of this particular essay. Then their next paragraph or topic will include how the subject relates to the younger generation. And then lastly, into American societies as a whole. So it gets quite large at the end. So let's just look at our topic sentences, class. I'm just going to kind of pick up the pace here because we have 2 more to look at just in terms of pattern, right? So notice how the topic sentence here has our subject. The documentary explains why the Sikh community has such a strong presence in Yuba City. And then they detail the reasons, right? Their ideas are backed with specific quotes from the essay, or I'm sorry, from the documentary. So here we have a direct quote. That's our support. So notice the pattern here, class. You have topic sentence, definition. There's a topic sentence, reasons for the strong presence, right? And so they kind of define it. They define what they're going to write about, social and economic motives, and then they do that, right, using specific examples from the documentary. And then this quote gives a lot of insight. So this quote shows, right? And so then they have the analysis. This student has established a pattern of including one first person sentence in each paragraph as a response. And that was their choice. It is consistent throughout. If you look here, I see how this happens. So here we have the topic sentence. And although they don't mention the documentary in this sentence, look, it's right here in the documentary, it is stated. So this student made a choice to reference the documentary specifically, just not in the topic sentence. And frankly, that's okay with me. I think that they made this choice to vary it just slightly. But class, when you're looking at these, really look for this consistency in the pattern. And again, I'm not going to read all these to you, but I'm sure you can see here in the documentary, it is stated, there's your example. This quote shows the analysis, and it goes on from there. And then here we have a transition sentence that takes the reader here and here. There's a pattern of transitioning into the next topic, right? And so look, here we are again. The documentary by title explains how the religion has facets that are held very highly. So one paragraph can be dedicated to the religion. Not many of you have done this, but don't detail just their religion, their religious practices. This documentary is about the Sikh community as a whole, and shouldn't focus on just one aspect of that. It should include several things. So I really like that this student kept it concise and put all of the religion, the sort of summary of the religion in one paragraph. So again, when you're looking at this, you'll see there's a cited quote or a quotation. Now, class, we're talking about MLA format, which may or may not be brand new to you. And what that means, as we've talked about, so I'm just going to go a little bit, that means what this heading looks like, what the spacing looks like, I do expect that you guys know that a paragraph should be indented in the first sentence, right? That a title should be centered. And it does not require extra quotations or bolding and bolded text or anything like that. So MLA format is what we're practicing. And on the first essays, I'm not counting against it, but it will be part of the grading rubric on your research essay. So it's something we're working on, and I want to see effort to do so. So I'm going to tell you now that when you use a quote to support your evidence from a documentary or a video of any kind, you'll want to include a timestamp. So what time, get a timestamp, hit pause when you're writing down the quote, and in quotation, in parentheses, it should have the video timestamp. And I believe there are some examples of that coming up. So, but that's what we're working on. It is not part of the grading criteria, but I will mention it if it is, as you're learning it, because it's, again, we're practicing, right? You're not expected to wake up and automatically know MLA format. Some of you might not even know what MLA stands for, and that actually is Modern Language Association. But anyway, so back to this pattern, I do want you guys to notice how consistent these paragraphs are in size. The pattern they're using that I keep referencing is established in the paragraph and essay video. So if you didn't watch that before, please do so, right? And as I've said many times, please take a look at these student examples. They're here for a reason. So so you can just, a lot of students are visual learners. So if you're not catching everything that I'm writing, at least you'll see the desired outcome, right? And again, none of these are 100% perfect, but they may have received 100% after revision. By the way, these essays are after revision, right? So, so know that as well. This is all about developing your writing skills and also developing student skills, right? So again, you'll see the patterns here, and then the conclusion paragraph is just as long as the other paragraphs. So that was an issue that I noticed in more than one essay, right? So these are common issues. These are common first learners and common points of revision, right? So you can all easily bring that grade up to an A by revising and following these patterns and really working on developing this pattern. So here we go. This is our next student essay example. And again, notice the similarities, guys. The heading, right? The spacing. We have, for those of you, paragraph indentation, centered title. The title is not the exact same as the documentary. However, it does reference it. It uses some of the same words. And that is a very good tip to use, is that you're kind of braiding and using the language, but making it your own as well. So here we go. We have a great hook according to data collected in 2017, etc. And here's our big dramatic number. There are over 27 million Sikhs in the world, with around 700,000 living in America. So notice how that really is a compelling hook. Then we launch right into an introduction of the documentary by name. And we have a highlighted thesis that, because I would actually say that the thesis statement starts here because the introduction is there, but that, it's there and I recognize it. So even that's something I would have told the student, or did tell the student in my notes, is that the thesis statement actually begins right here. But and that didn't count against the student for not identifying it. It's just, that's part of the learning. And the fact is that it's here shows me that they know how to write a thesis statement, right? So then we have a whole thesis statement. That detail was very detailed. And the only thing I would say at this point about this essay is that there are some repeated word choices. The use of the word community is a little heavy on this. So that's something that takes some practice and also revision. It's sometimes when you're writing an essay, particularly the introduction, which I usually tell students don't start with the introduction, finish strong, when you're warmed up as a writer. And focus on, fill in use your transitional phrases. Put your topics in the topic sentence. You can fill in sentences as you draft. Sometimes it's just getting those parts in. You might know a quote you're going to use, but you don't have the analysis yet, but you have the quote and the citation. So you can build your paragraphs from the inside out. They don't have to go linearly or from the, from the top to the bottom. If you have these formulas set, you can kind of plug in the information and then shape your tone and what you're going to say once those the key words are there, right? So so take a look closely at this. I'm going to kind of go a little bit faster and not read this to you, but then looking at this pattern, we have a topic sentence referencing the documentary and the topic. They're going kind of past, present, future, maybe, because this is talking about how it brought, the Sikh community, how it was established, how and why it was established in Yuba City in the first place, defining what Sikh means. And here we go. We have a timestamp, what it would look like. So here's an example of a timestamped cited quote from, and in any quotation we know is with this, it doesn't even have to, you don't have to say in the documentary at this point because it was established in the introduction and in each topic sentence. So it's not needed, the word, the reference, we just know where the quote and the timestamp is a reference to, right? So then we have, again, note when you're reading this class, really look for the topic sentence, definition, example, explanation, or the analysis of the example. Sometimes students use 2 or 3 examples and continue an idea thusly. So then there's a transitional sentence here at the very end that takes us from one subject to the next, right? And then we have our topic sentence, there's a documentary reference, we have our transitional word to help with the organization, again, a timestamp citation, followed by analysis, followed by a conclusion sentence that ties up what you just said, and then a transitional sentence that takes the reader from the current paragraph to the next paragraph. I call those the blinker, like you're turning on a blinker to tell the reader which direction you're headed in the next paragraph. You'll notice that the majority of them have a comma in them. So you have your topic sentence, or this references this topic, and then following which it's followed by the next topic. So just read that, you'll see what I'm referring to. But here we are, topic sentence with the organizational phrase, explanation or definition, followed by a cited quote for support, and which is then followed by analysis, and so on. And then here we have the student's first person response, right? So and then it's the response and the conclusion paragraph, right? And there's your works cited page, correctly done with the hanging indentation, the directors, this is all correct. So if you want to take a look at this, you'll see exactly what how this works cited page should look. Okay. Let's just move on real quickly to the next summary and response example, and I'll go even quicker through this since they're all really the examples of the same pattern. Notice the title is similar to our other ones and yet very different. We're leading with a staggering number in the hook, or an interesting, dramatic kind of flair hook that literally kind of grabs the reader. There's the background, and then the highlighted thesis statements. Now, looking at this paragraph, you can see that there's a missing reference to the documentary. It literally just launches into the history of something or other. So there's missing, this is an example of missing one that has missing parts, right? It's really packed with information from the documentary, and it's actually pretty well written. Unfortunately, though, as you can see, it's missing cited examples. There's only a few references to the documentary, and they're kind of tucked in. So you can kind of see what's missing, right, on this example. You can see that there's a repeated word choice. And so there are problems with it. Now, that's the kind of thing I would like for you to notice when you are seeing these. There's multiple examples here for you to look at. And when you see, when you know what I'm looking for, you'll see what isn't there, right? So not all these, like I said, not all these are perfect. Some are here to kind of see what is not correct. This works cited is not, it's missing a hanging indentation, and it's missing just some minor details, right? But this is something, you know, again, it's the first essay and they're practicing. So hopefully that is helpful in terms of your own revision and helps remind you what the grading criteria is and what you're here to learn, right? Which is really how to write and know that writing is revision. Okay, writing is revision. Typically, the first version of anything needs revision. It's not often that even the best of the best don't revise. We all must revise our work. So please see this, students, as an opportunity that will benefit you as a student. And oops, sorry, I'm a little distracted, just trying to get out of the screen. Save here. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful. Hopefully you guys know that this is an opportunity for growth, and I welcome your revisions. If anyone has any specific questions, as many of you know, I'm very quick to reply. So I'll be actively replying to any questions you might have. But make sure that you have watched this video. I'm sure you are, or you have if you're at this point. So another thing I wanted to just say to you guys is that the overall grades in this class, there are roughly 10 A's. The highest grade in the class is 101%. And there's 1 B, there are 5 C's, and roughly 7 not passing grades. So many of you are doing absolutely fabulously, but this essay is your first formal essay, and you might be a little bit surprised. So definitely see this as an opportunity for growth, right? The other thing I wanted to say, and I think the majority of you know this already, there were actually only 2 students that had a question about the late policy in this class. So I'm here to really clarify what was in the syllabus and how it translates to this class. And so what was there before was dated December 2020. I think it said your last submission, the latest you can submit anything is December 1st, 2020, right? So that's for a fall semester. It also said that late work could be submitted up to 2 weeks. And again, that's for a full semester. So if you do the math, this summer session is a third of the length of a full semester. And so late work in this class, first of all, I highly discourage anyone to get behind in this class because it is moving so quickly. And assignments are building on each other, right? So you guys had assignments in the first week intentionally to be at a new level on the third week, not to start the first week in the third week, right? So, or go backwards. And again, this doesn't apply to most of you. There's a very, very few students that are confused. And so that I'm clarifying here that in this summer session, late work is highly discouraged. You will have up to 3 days past the assignment date. Discussions lock. They're meant to serve us in this class, to serve the community as a discussion, right? So to complete a discussion assignment 2 weeks later, 1 week later, when everyone else has moved on, it doesn't really serve the discussion, right? So the assignments really need to come in on time. This wasn't, I hope you're all happy to be here. You all signed up and paid for the class during this time to move at this pace. And so that's up to you guys to really meet those deadlines. Again, most of you are doing this, okay? But to rely on a late policy, it won't serve you as a student, right? So the way to succeed in this class is to meet the deadlines, to do your best, to pay attention to all the resources that are given to you, read assignments very, very carefully, and meet those deadlines, right? Most of you, though, I do want to end on a positive note and say that over half the class has an A at this point. And I feel like as we move forward and as students establish the writing pattern that we're looking for and learn how the transitions change or affect the format of the essay, but all the elements are there, just like I was saying before, using the cookie analogy, that all cookies have flour, eggs, sugar, right? The basic stuff. And that is that's what we have in this class. But what changes it are the transitions, the compare contrast transition, the cause and effect transition, and so on. So I know that this video is getting a little bit long here, but I do encourage each and every one of you to revise and resubmit your essay after watching this video and really look at the student examples to see the pattern that's there, get that visual help. And again, I'm here if you want to email me and request or have any questions, I'm here. So I think that's it for now. I hope you enjoy this third week. It is our midpoint. And I'll talk to you all later. Okay, bye.